So let me start. Welcome to the orientation. And today's orientation is about the certified program, which deals with the financial reporting specialist. And we have our honorable guest lecturer, which is who is Param Krishnan. So I would be giving him the floor during the modulation description. And right now, I would like to introduce World Academy. So basically, we are a training institution based in UK, and our motive or goal is to shape expertise, nurture ambition, and elevate the potential of each participant. Keeping that in mind, we actually are a UK registered learning provider, and this is our identification number. And our mission basically is to become the #1 professional certificate institution in the world, having a presence over 100 countries. So this is basically our goal in 2020, 2030. So we hope the way we are proceeding, we hope to reach our goals before 2030. Now, these are some of our ISO certifications that we have. One of them is 21001, which is about management system of education organization. The ISO 17024 is about general requirements for bodies, operating certification of persons. 30414 is about HRM, guidelines of internal and external HR capital reporting. And ISO 40180 is about information technology. It's about the quality of learning, education, and training. So these are the 4 ISO certifications. And the impact that we have still so far in the global market is that we have a presence over 65 plus countries. We are offering 200 plus programs from academic to certified programs, trained over 30,000 professionals across 65 plus countries. We have a huge pool of 132 instructors from over 14 countries. 30% of our alumni are basically from the C-suite roles in big organizations. And we are very happy to say that 95% of the course completion rate is in the first attempt. So that's a very good sign for people who are who will be going through the assessment part. Now, why choose us? Well, we are one of the largest professional certification institute based in UK at the moment. And our credentials, whatever we are providing from courses, are globally accepted. Yes, of course, the fee is a big issue. We try to keep it as affordable as possible, along with a flexible payment plan. And there's a wide range of programs that we are covering in professional areas. 150 plus certified programs, 30 plus master's level programs, 40 plus diploma level programs. We have a very user-friendly LMS system, which is the learning management system. So everyone who already enrolled got an ID and password. So they can log into that learning management system and then access their modules. Those who haven't enrolled as of yet, you can enroll and would be able to experience the ease of the LMS. We also provide a credential badge issued through credly.com. It is a concern of Pearson Education Group. So that's how we are validating our credible badges. Now, a little bit of our global affiliation. Well, it is an accredited institute by NQual. NQual is basically an off-qual regulated awarding body on the UK government, an approved center by Cambridge Academy of Professionals, an approved center by ProfQual UK, Board of HR Certifications UK, and also International Authority for Project Management Certification. We are very proud approved provider of HRCI, SHRM, and ATDs. These are all US-based organizations, and our couple of programs are academically aligned with SHRM. We are also an accredited institute by the International Professional Accreditation Council Singapore. Singapore, a member of CPD Group UK, and currently partnering with Institute of KPI Specialist and Academy of Business English and Communication. So recently we have covered some graduations and summits. So these are some of the highlights. We covered one in Kenya on the 1st of August, and it was a very good and fruitful and very enjoying moment for the graduates who have completed. We also had a summit. It was on Global Professional Summit. It was covered in the venue in Kenya. Along with Kenya, we had Uganda graduation ceremony. It was a very good, we had a very good response. Everybody was happy attending the ceremony, which was actually followed by a summit, was related to International People's Summit 2025. And finally, we had the other one on the 8th of August. It was in Tanzania. We had the graduation ceremony. It was a presence of 150 people. And also we had the summit followed up, which was a very fruitful summit, which was related to Global Professional Summit as well. Coming down to the main point, well, the reason we are all here is the Certified Financial Reporting Specialist. This program itself is validated and quality assured by Cambridge Academy of Professionals. Now, this is the digital badge that I was talking about previously, which will be provided to you through credly.com, and this will be provided upon successful completion of all the assessment areas. Now, this is the sample certificate. On the left, you would be seeing the main certificate. On the right is the transcript that we will be providing upon completion. This is the success stories. Third batch has been completed. We've started the 4th batch. About 150 professionals have already completed the CFRS program from 13 countries. Well, what are the features? Well, it's a 4 months program. It's going to be on live Zoom app. So you will be attending the classes on Saturdays. And you can keep the time updated from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. GMT. You need to convert it to your local time and then see when it is there. So Saturdays will be the class, and the books and the materials that will be provided during this program will be for free. So you don't have to worry about buying anything. And of course, you have the live interaction system through LMS, Learning Management System. Now, why choose the CFRS program provided by World Academy? Well, it is all, of course, job-oriented learning. We will focus heavily on the competency framework. We will have a lot of practices during these sessions, and we'll have some exercises as well. And it will be equipped with tools and formats so you can actually apply them in your practical world. Of course, we will be using global resources. Mr. Param is with us, so he's going to give you the idea or the knowledge that is required to understand the global market of how things are being reported. This is the learning portfolio of CFRS. So you can see that 10 practical focused modules will be provided. We will be covering 10 practical focused modules that covers actually 30 total competencies and 30 learning objectives. And there will be 100 guided questions provided to you upon completion of the program so that you can apply those things while you are in your practicing field. Case studies, well, we will have case studies in every sessions. It's going to be a small case studies. And of course, there will be 10 group activities during sessions. Moving on to the class management part. Well, this part we're going to do this way, that there will be 10 modules which will be covered in 10 sessions. So each session will have 2 hours every Saturday. And this 2 hours will include those the case studies and other activities as well. In total, we will have 10 sessions. 2 hours means 20 hours is the total study hours that will be, or the training hours for the whole program. There will be review and question answer sessions as well. The class recordings will be provided. Well, it will be provided probably after 3-4 days of the class, because it takes time to complete or edit the videos and then share it. And of course, there will be an opportunity to attend the makeup exam. Even if you don't qualify in your first attempt, which is a regular attempt, you will be able to sit for the exam for free in the second attempt. And the class materials, it will be provided after the session is complete within a day or two. So the class management part is the notifications and the examination notification will be shared through WhatsApp group. So whoever has enrolled will be added in a WhatsApp group. If you're not, it will be created soon and you will be added. So all the updates will be going over there. The sequence, the reason we cannot maintain the sequence all the time, it's because we do plan the entire course in the beginning. So if any session is missed out regarding related to an emergency or natural calamity, we will be covering it in the next possible date, so that we don't miss any modules. This way, the sequence may not be followed, but that's absolutely okay. It's not going to be a problem. And yeah, so all materials will be shared through learning management system. We won't be sharing the in the WhatsApp group. It will be given on your learning management system. We will just notify you everything in the WhatsApp group. And remember, whenever you're attending any sessions, any live Zoom session, of course, rename yourself so that we can take the attendance like that. The assessment part, well, the assessment part will have an exam and a quiz and an assignment part. So what you're seeing on the screen is the exam and quiz part. So as I've said before, that we'll have a case every class. Based on that case, we will be providing you quizzes. So it will be available on the learning management system. So for that, you'll have every case will have 10 questions. And each question is 20 marks. I'm just pointing out over here. So each question is 20 marks and you'll get 20 minutes. Now, you can attempt this quiz over and over again. There's no limitation, but you need to qualify. That's the main point of understanding the quiz and the case as well. So there will be in total 10 quizzes, equivalent to 10 cases. And there will be one final exam at the end. That means after you have completed all the modules, you'll have one exam, which will include 50 questions, 50 multiple choice questions. And that is it. There's no written, no essay type questions. It's only multiple choice questions. The amount is 50. Each MCQ is 2 marks. So that makes up 100 marks for this. And you will get about 60 minutes to complete. So that's the final examination part. And to qualify, you need to score 70%. Anything above is qualified. Anything under, you can go for a makeup exam. Now, remember that the makeup exam, the first attempt is the first makeup exam is free. There's a significant charge if you go for a second makeup exam. That's actually the third attempt of the exam. Now, coming down to the assignment part, well, we'll start off with a pre-course assignment. So this is only for learning purpose. You don't have to worry about the grades. We expect you to write whatever you understand in the beginning. So before any module starts, you can do this pre-course assignment and submit. And this will be followed. And as you go and you complete the modules, you'll have 3 in-course assignments that you need to submit. Each assignment is 100 marks. And to qualify in that, you need to make sure that you have 70% and above. And finally, after you have completed the entire program, you will have a final project, which is a capstone project. It's a total of 300 marks. And the passing mark or the qualifying mark is 70%. So you can understand all the assessment areas that you will go through has a qualifying mark of 70%. Now, to give you an overall look of what the assessment framework is, you can see that the pre-course assignment, I've told you it is for only learning purpose, so there's no mark over here. Case-based quiz, in total 10 cases, 10 quizzes, each has 20 marks, so that's 200 marks. Need to qualify with 70%. In the in-course assignments, each of the assignment is 100 marks, so that's 300 marks over here. Final assignment, there's only one final assignment that you need to do that holds about 300 marks. Of course, the qualifying mark is 70. And the final exam, which is MCQ based, it's about 100 marks. You have to qualify with 70%. Now, the certification, well, after successful completion, that means if you qualify in all the assessment areas, you will get the electronic certificate and the digital badge within 7 working days after the total grade or the grade has been published, if I say it. So that's you'll be available in 7 working days. And the printed certificates, well, World Academy usually distributes certificates 4 times a year. So whichever slot is nearest to the completion of this batch, we will distribute the hard copy of the certificates through that slot. We will collect the physical address or the mailing address from you. Once you have got into the program, we will ask through the WhatsApp group as well. So nothing to worry about. We will be collecting them. So I'll just finish this part and then just to give you a review. So you have, when you start off, you'll have the pre-course assignment, then you have the sessions, ongoing sessions that you need to attend all the assessment part. That means the quizzes, the case studies, of course, you have to attend. Then you have the final assessment, which includes the exams and the assignments and everything. And the final phase of this course is to have the online badges and the certifications. Remember that the badge that we will be providing is a professional credential badge. So you can add CFRS after your name. So that's a good part of this program. It gives you a credential. So that is all. I'm not going to take more time. I would like to stop my presentation and I'll ask Mr. Param to share his screen and explain all the modules that will be covered in this session. Sir, please, if you kindly give them an idea of what we are going to cover. Thank you.
Thanks, Tawhid. Hi, good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Let me share my screen.
Yes, sir, we can hear you loud and clear.
All right, great.
Yes, the screen is visible, sir.
All right, great. Let me move this thing here. Okay, the mode. Let me.
So you can look in the bottom right. There's a presentation play button. You can probably yeah that one too.
Yeah. Okay.
Perfect.
All right. These are the modules that we will cover in this program under the CFRS Certified Financial Reporting Specialist. Module 1 will look at fundamental concepts of accounting and International Accounting Standards 1. Module 2, we will look at cash flow statement, which will be covered by a standard called International Accounting Standard 7. We have module 3, which will look at inventory, which is covered by IAS 2, and property, plant and equipment, PPE, which will be covered by IAS 16. Then we have module 4, which is to do with the borrowing cost and government grant, which is IAS 20, and of course includes also investment properties, which is IAS 40. Module 5, which is impairment of assets, which is covered by IAS 36, assets then held for sale or discontinued operations, which is IFRS, and intangible assets, which are covered by IAS 13. You will notice that you have 2 abbreviations here. Yeah, one is called IAS, which is International Accounting Standards, and one is called IFRS, which is International Financial reporting standards here. Both these standards are basically standards that are used to govern the preparation of financial statements. Yeah, it's just that the issuing body is different. After 2011, all standards have been labeled as IFRS. Yeah, just for your information. Module 6, which will cover revenue, IFRS 15, and then we will look at leases, which is covered by IFRS 16. Then module 7, which is accounting policies, changes in accounting estimates and error, which is covered by International Accounting Standards 8. Then events after the reporting period, IAS 10, and provision for contingent assets and contingent liabilities, which will be covered by IAS 13. Okay. Module 8 will cover income taxes, IAS 12, and also EPS, earnings per share, which will be covered by IAS 33. And module 9, which is financial instruments, which will be addressed in IFRS 9. And module 10, which looks at consolidation. So we will have two standards that addresses this issue. One is IFRS 3 and one is IFRS 10. Okay, so basically what I'm primarily telling you is in this particular course, you will be exposed to all the standards that will be applied. Okay, so most countries, more than 180 countries actually subscribe to the International Financial Reporting Standards, which are issued by the International Accounting Standards Board, which governs all financial statements that are prepared by business entities. Yeah. So these financial statements basically involve the balance sheet, the profit and loss statement, the cash flow statement, and the statement of changes in equities. These are the four key financial statements that are mandated that need to be prepared using these standards. So wherever they are applicable. So we will focus on basically the standards that are applied very commonly. Yeah. So sometimes some are very specific to industry. So we will address one or two of them. Okay, let's look at module 1. Basically, this module basically introduces the fundamental principles of accounting and outlines the structure, purpose, and disclosure requirements under IAS 1. Yeah, so IAS 1 basically talks about fundamentals of presentation of financial statements. So which will cover the balance sheet, the income statement, the cash flow statement, and the statement of changes in equity. So basically, IAS sets out how financial statements should be prepared, what should be shown, what should be disclosed. Okay. Now, what are the learning objectives here? So you basically will understand the core principles and assumptions underlying financial accounting. Okay, so you need to understand things like what is going concern, what is historical cost concept, how are they related to the standards, and how do the standards apply in relation to these accounting standards and principles. Yeah. So you will explore the purpose and of course the components of general purpose financial statements, which I've indicated: balance sheet, income statement, cash flow statement, and the statement of changes in equity. You will learn the requirements for fair presentation and compliance with IFRS. So essentially, basically, all financial statement needs to be complied with in terms of recognition, recording, preparation, and reporting. Need to comply with the IFRS standard. So what learning outcomes will you have? You'll be able to explain basically the fundamental accounting concepts such as accrual, going concern, consistency. For example, if you take consistency, you need to make sure that when you apply a particular way of calculating, for example, depreciation, you apply the standard on a regular basis. Yeah, so that means year to year. If there's, you can make changes, of course, but nonetheless, the changes need to be explained. You will identify and describe components of financial statement under IAS. So you will know, you will understand the details of these financial statements, which will include, like I mentioned, the balance sheet, P&L, cash flow statement, and the statement of changes in equity. Then you learn basically how to apply the IAS rules. Yeah, that are basically if you look at international accounting standards, there are rules that are actually set by the standards board. Yeah, so which you need to follow. So if you're an accountant, you need to apply those rules for the preparation of financial statements. Yeah. Now we look at module 2. We will go into.
Sir, just a little bit, little thing. There was a request from a attendee to go a bit slow so that he can grasp what you're saying. Is that okay? Thank you.
Yeah, fine. Thank you for the feedback. Yeah, no, sorry. My apologies, I didn't realize that I was going to. So let's look at module 2, which actually covers cash flow statement.
Sorry, sir. Sorry to butt in. I'm just asking, will this not be
Yep.
provided to us? Because the way you are going, you are also writing. So will this be provided to us?
We will share this whole video on our YouTube channel. So we will share the YouTube channel link in the chat box. You just subscribe and like it. You'll get the notification when the orientation video is uploaded. All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Sir, you may continue. Thank you.
All right. So we look at the module 2, which is the cash flow statement. Okay, this module will focus on the preparation and interpretation of cash flow statement according to International Accounting Standard 7. Okay, so when you look at the cash flow statement, you're basically looking at the core aspects of the business, yeah, which will be covered, which includes operating, which is the basic business functions of the business. So if you are a manufacturer, your operations is manufacturing. And then your investing activities, for example, if you buy fixed assets, okay, you buy land or you buy buildings or you buy equipment, that will be treated as investing. And if you look at financing transactions, these are basically borrowings, for example, okay, you borrow from the bank, you take a loan from the bank or you issue bond. So these are classified as financing activities. So when you look at the cash flow statement basically under IAS 7, warrants that the cash flow statement is prepared and broken into three core activities, yeah, which include operating, investing, and financial activities, yeah. Now, what do you learn from here? You understand the objectives and the structure of the cash flow statement. That means you know exactly how a cash flow statement is to be prepared. The cash flow statement basically is all the cash inflows and outflows that a company engages in, yeah. So you learn the classification of cash flows into the three categories that we talked about. Operating, like I told you, operating are the activities that the business conducts. So it can be trading, it can be manufacturing, okay, activities that you undertake, okay. And when you prepare the cash flow statement for that particular business activity itself or the business entity itself, you break up the cash flow statement and divide them into these three categories, okay. You develop skills to prepare the cash flow statement using a direct and indirect method. There are actually two methods to prepare the cash flow statement, which when we go through the module, we will learn how to differentiate what is the direct method and what is the indirect method of preparing the cash flow statement itself. Okay, what are the learning outcomes? You'll be able to classify and record cash flows correctly under IAS 7 itself. Okay, you prepare cash flow statements from financial data. That means transactions that take place here. Transactions are basically activities that the business undertakes. Okay, maybe buying of fixed assets or selling of finished goods, payment of debtors, borrowing from the bank. These are the various activities that any business undertakes. And those activities are accordingly classified into these three categories, yeah. Then you interpret the cash flow statement to assess the liquidity and financial health. Basically, when you look at the cash flow statement, it basically tells you, if you look at the cash flow statement of a business entity, it tells you how much cash inflows and outflows the company has. Okay, so inadvertently, it actually reflects on the liquidity position. That means your ability to meet your short-term financial obligations. So whether you have money to pay your suppliers, for example, whether you have money to pay your employees, for example, the salaries for the employees, these are all operational activities. So that's what you will pick up from understanding the cash flow statement. So if you do have any questions at the end of the session, please ask. I will explain it further to you. If you look at module 3, we will look at inventory, which is covered by the International Accounting Standard 2. And we will look at property, plant, and equipment, which is abbreviated as PPE, which will be covered by IAS 16. Okay, this module basically explores the accounting treatment, valuation, and disclosure of inventory, property, plant, and equipment. Okay, so it basically tells you how you value your inventory? What method do you use to value your inventory? You're carrying inventory as part of your item in your balance sheet, for example. How do I value it? Am I value it at cost? Do I value it net realizable value? So this module under IS2, we will look at the inventory valuation methods and how inventory should be properly and accordingly valued using this standard itself. And similarly, for property, plant, and equipment, which are actually fixed assets that are shown on your balance sheet. Okay, so you need to understand how fixed assets are shown in the balance sheet. How do you treat depreciation, for example? What is depreciation in relation to the fixed asset? How is the depreciation amount reflected in the balance sheet? Okay, so now in normal cases, you get fixed asset, let's say machinery, valued at cost, 100,000, and less accumulated depreciation or whatever depreciation that you've calculated based on whatever depreciation method that you have utilized. Okay, so this basically talks about inventory and PPE. Yeah, burning. So you understand the recognition and measuring criteria for inventory and property, plant, and equipment. Okay, you learn the cost formulas and depreciation methods. For example, straight line, declining balance. How do I calculate the depreciation using the information that is provided? Okay, and what information do I need to disclose? That is very important. Yeah, so all financial information that is disclosed in the financial statement have got disclosure requirements, and each standard that is prescribed, whether it's IS 1, 2, or 3 or 16, will tell you what are the disclosure requirements that are necessary. Yeah. So you need to identify the disclosure requirements and the impairment considerations. Impairment means lost in value. Yeah, impairment normally every asset will have lost in value over time. Okay, so if you buy a new car, the car will lose its value over time. Yeah. So what are the things that you need to take into consideration to calculate those impairment losses? Yeah. So basically, outcomes will be you learn how to apply IS2 and IS16 in measuring and valuing of inventory and property, plant, and equipment. You learn how to calculate the depreciation and the cost of goods sold using appropriate methods. Okay, so that you will understand exactly how this is calculated and what is cost of goods sold in the context. Okay, then you will also understand what are the disclosure for inventory and PPE in the financial statement as far as the standards are concerned. Okay, so let's look at module 4. Module 4 looks at borrowing costs. Yeah, so essentially it is covered addressed in International Accounting Standard 23, government grants, which are addressed in IS 20, and investment properties, which are addressed by IS 40. So basically this module covers the accounting treatment for how do you treat borrowing costs, how do you treat interest, where is interest to be shown, how is the capital cost of the borrowing element to be shown in your balance sheet, which part of the balance sheet does the borrowing cost go to, how do you treat government assistance? For example, sometimes you get government grant, sometimes you may be involved in industries where government offer grants. Now, if the government offers the grant, how do you recognize those grants in your financial statement? For example, how do you show them in your balance sheet, and how do you apply for the grants? What do you do when you receive the grant? How is it treated? Does it go to your balance sheet? Does it go to your P&L? Okay, then we will look at things like investment properties. Investment properties are properties that you do not hold for purposes of operational activities, but basically you are holding it for sale. Okay, that means you maybe be trading, buying and selling property. As the value of the property goes up, you may want to sell it. Yeah, so that is how the investment property is differentiated from property, plant, and equipment, which is covered under IS 16. Under IS 40, you look at a very specific type of property, and that is called investment property. Okay, what are the learning objectives? You understand capitalization of borrowing costs. How do I, if I borrow from the bank, how do I capitalize? What cost do I capitalize? Do I capitalize by initial cost that I incur in obtaining the loan, for example? Okay, so you need to look at something called what is known as qualifying asset itself. Yeah. So you learn the recognition and measurement of government grants, as I mentioned to you. How do you treat government grants if you are in an industry? Sometimes there are many countries that offer grants for certain types of businesses. For example, in IT, agriculture. Okay, so you may get grants to run your business. How do I treat this grants? Yeah. So you basically learn how to also understand, because like I mentioned to you, you will learn how to distinguish between investment property from other assets. Okay, so you will apply the fair value model or the cost model in recognition of the investment property itself. Okay, the outcomes will be you learn how to, of course, apply IAS 23 to capitalize borrowing costs correctly. Okay, you record and present government grants in accordance with IAS 20. You measure and report investment properties under IAS 40. So basically, in essence, basically what in all the standards that we do is basically you will be exposed to what are the rules and regulations that are required for purpose of presentation of these items that we are talking about. In this case, IAS 23, 20, and 40, and how they should be presented. Yeah. So module 5, we'll look at impairment of assets, which will be covered in IAS 36. Okay, and then there's something called assets that are held for sale or discontinued operations, which will be covered under IFRS 5, and you look at intangible assets here. So what does it cover? How do you treatment of impairment? Impairment, like I told you, means a loss in value. Yeah. And how do you classify non-current assets? Yeah, that means these are fixed assets that you are not holding for purposes of your business, but you are going to sell them. Okay, so maybe you may have a vehicle which you are not using for your operational purposes in the business, but you are holding it for sale. So that can be classified as a non-current asset held for sale. Okay, and then you would also need to understand how do you account for intangible assets itself. So what are the learning objectives? How to assess and recognize asset impairment. Okay, to understand how do you treat these loss in value. Understand the criteria for classifying assets that are held for sale or discontinued operations. Basically, that means, like I told you, there are some assets that you can hold in the business which are not used in the operational aspects of your business but are held for sale. Yeah. So explore the recognition and amortization of intangible assets. Okay, so you basically, when we look at intangible assets, when we look at tangible assets like fixed assets, we look at depreciation. But when we look at intangible assets, for example, patents, trademarks, okay, goodwill, how do we treat these intangible assets? Okay, how do we treat the loss in value of the intangible asset? And that process, the loss in value, is called amortization. Yeah. Learning outcome, you'll apply the impairment testing procedures under IAS 36. Okay, you classify and measure the assets that are held for sale or discontinued operations under IFRS 5. Okay, you account for intangible assets in line with IAS 36. So when you actually explore or attend, because each of these standards are covered in the specific modules, you will understand with better clarity what are the things that we will address here. So module 6, we will look at revenue, IFRS, and leases. Okay, so here the concept of how do you recognize revenue under IFRS 15, and how do you account for leases? Okay, so leases, for example, you can lease a vehicle. Okay, your business can be engaged in leases. Okay, lease is a financial instrument. Yeah, so you can lease it from a leasing company, a financial company, or company that does leasing of, let's say, vehicles. So you can treat leases are treated as either operating lease or financial lease. You will understand it better when we explore the module in detail. So this is what this standard will cover. So you'll understand the 5-step module, which will be addressed in the IFRS 16. Okay, there's a way in which you need to recognize revenue. When is revenue to be recognized? When I make a sale to a customer, do I recognize the revenue in my as my revenue in my P&L, for example? At what point do I recognize it? When I transfer the assets to my person who buys it, that is the customer. At which point do I recognize? So what are the elements that are involved? So we will explore the 5-step model that presents how revenue is to be recognized. Yeah, so you learn to identify the performance obligations and contract modifications. So what are the obligations you may have? Okay, when let's say you have a customer who buys finished goods from you, you of course enter into a contract, and there are contractual obligations from both parties. So how do you recognize these contractual obligations, and when those obligations are to be recognized, so that you can see whether you need to show them in your financial statements? Yeah. Then you comprehend lease classification, measurement, and presentation. How are leases to be shown? Okay. So as I mentioned to you, there are two types of leases. There are operating leases, financial. What is an operating lease? How do you classify a lease as operating lease? How do you classify a lease as financial lease? We will explore that in the standard itself. Okay. Outcomes. Okay. You will have learned how to apply what is the 5-step module in revenue recognition purposes. You recognize revenue accurately in accordance with IFRS 15. Okay, you account for leases in the financial statement using IFRS 16. Yeah, so this is what you will learn in this module. In module 7, we will look at something called accounting policies, changes in accounting estimates, errors. Okay, how do I handle this kind of aspects that will happen in any business entity? Yeah. So when you carry out accounting transactions, there could be accounting policies that you can apply. So if I want to change my accounting policy from this method A to method B, what do I need to do? What are the disclosures that I need to make? If I make changes to my accounting estimates, for example, if I estimate that I'm going to have loss in my accounts receivable, okay, so I make a provision for losses, yeah, maybe because you think that the accounts receivable cannot be collected from the customer for various reasons. So there are standards that will be applied and recognize those estimates, yeah. And how do I treat errors? If I make an error in my financial statement, how do I handle those errors? Okay. Then you will also look at what is the meaning of contingent liabilities and contingent assets, yeah. So basically, when we look at contingent liabilities and contingent assets, we are looking at some future event from happening. When there's a future event, contingent, that's the meaning of contingent, yeah. So this module basically focuses on changes in accounting policies, estimate, reporting, post-balance sheet events. Okay, so after you have produced your financial statements, there are some things that you need to put a note for. Then you need to see how you need to handle that. Okay, and any provisions and contingencies that you need to make. You understand how to handle changes in policies. Okay, that means if I change my accounting policy from straight line to declining balance, what do I need to do? Okay, how do I need to report it? How do I need to disclose it? Okay, these are some of the things that will be covered. You learn to identify, disclose, adjust, and non-adjusting event. Okay, you recognize and measure provisions, contingent assets and liabilities. Like I said, contingent means it is based on something from happening in the future. So you recognize sometimes liabilities like tax, you get deferred tax, okay? Or you may be involved in a legal suit. There could be a liability that could arise out of a legal suit itself. So that could that will give an indication that there could be a contingent liability in the event that the legal action goes against you, yeah? So learning outcomes, you learn how to apply the standards, of course, okay, and disclose the events after reporting with in line with IAS 10, okay, accurately recognize provisions and contingencies in accordance with the IAS 37 itself. Okay, so these are some of the things that you will pick up. Let's look at module 8. This will cover income taxes. Yeah, basically, when we look at income taxes, we are not looking at the personal taxes. We are looking at taxes in relation to a business entity. Yeah, and we also look at IAS 33, which will actually look at earnings per share. Okay, so this module will spell out how do I treat income tax. Okay, how do I recognize the current tax? How do I calculate my current tax? Now, you must understand the peculiarity of income tax is it differs from country to country, yeah? The rates differ, okay? But the concept does not change, yeah? The concept is still applicable across business entities, yeah? Only the tax rates can, in some countries there'll be 25%, some countries there'll be 20%, so it's country specific. What are the learning objectives? You understand the recognition and measurement of current and deferred taxes. You understand what is your current tax liability, how do I treat deferred tax, Okay, what is deferred tax for the matter? Okay, well, how do I understand deferred tax and how do I show deferred tax in my financial statement? Okay, so you learn how to reconcile accounting profit to taxable profit. That means actually before you calculate your taxable component, okay, you need to calculate your taxable income. Okay, so there are ways in which you need to calculate from your net income that you need to make certain adjustments, like you need to make adjustments for depreciation. In certain countries, they don't allow depreciation to be deducted, okay, but they provide something else called capital allowance, like in Malaysia, they do that. Okay, so this is how you work on that, and you explore and calculate disclosure of basic and diluted EPS. The basic EPS is earnings per share. So basically, you look at the total outstanding capital of the business itself. Okay, and then you take the net income, and then you divide the total outstanding shares to calculate the basic earnings per share. Okay, which is actually shown in the calculation is shown in IAS 33. And what is diluted EPS? Diluted EPS is sometimes the share can be issued with options and warrants, which person who's buying the shares can exercise. These options and warrants can reduce the value of the earnings per share. That's why it's called diluted. That means the value reduces. What are the learning outcomes? Okay, you account for current and deferred taxes using IAS 12. You compute and interpret EPS figures in line with the IAS 33. Okay, you disclose tax and EPS information accurately in the financial report. So where do I show my earnings per share? In which financial statement do I reflect my earnings per share? Do I show it in my balance sheet, in my income statement? And where exactly in my income statement do I need to show my EPS itself? Okay. So module 9, we look at financial instruments. This is what I mean by a very specialized industry. This is the finance industry. So if you are involved in it, it will give you an in-depth knowledge of the classification, recognition, measurement and impairment of financial instruments under IFRS 9. Okay, so it tells you what is a financial instrument. Okay, first and foremost, you need to understand what is a financial instrument. Now, how do I show that financial instrument in my financial statement? How do I recognize the impairment of the financial instrument itself? Okay, so these are some of the things that you will pick up. Okay, you understand the classification categories of financial assets and liabilities. You learn how to recognize and de-recognize the financial instruments. When do I put it in my financial statement? When do I take it out of my financial statement? That is called de-recognition, To explore the expected credit loss model for impairment, there's a model that shows you how to calculate the credit loss. For impairment, impairment means loss in value. Okay, so you learn how to use that module itself. Okay, so your outcome will be how to classify and measure financial instruments under IFRS 9. Okay, normally this will basically involve a lot of companies that are dealing with things like bonds, okay, and shares as investments. So you will also learn how to apply the impairment module for financial assets, account for gains, loss, and fair value changes in financial assets. So how do I treat if I buy investment in a company? Okay, if the share price of that, if I bought the share, for example, for at $1, and now the share price has increased to 150, how do I account for the difference? Where do I recognize the difference of 50 cents that has increased in my investment value? This is what you will pick up from this module itself. Okay, and in the last module, we will look at consolidation, which was covered by both IFRS 3 and IFRS 10. Okay, this module basically explains the principles of business combination and preparation of consolidated financial statement. So what in essence you will learn is you will understand what is consolidation. What do you need to do when there's consolidation? If one company buys over another company, okay, and it buys over a certain amount of shares, and they are now going to show that as a consolidated view of the business itself. Okay, so there's a holding company or what is called a parent company, and there's a subsidiary company. How do I show that in my financial statement? How do I do this consolidation exercise? So you understand the concept of control under IFRS 10 and the impact on consolidation itself. Okay, So this standard basically tells you when you can recognize an entity as a subsidiary, okay, when, for example, one aspect of it is control. That means you have control over the financial activities of the other business entity which you have taken over, okay, so that will allow you to consolidate the information. Okay, so you learn how to account for business combination under IFRS 3, identify consolidation procedures including estimation of intercompany balances. So how do I show now that I'm a parent company, how do I show the assets and liabilities of my subsidiary in my holding company itself? So that's basically what is consolidation. Yeah. So you understand the concept of consolidation, how consolidation is done, and how a consolidated account is prepared. Okay. Learning outcomes, determine, control, and prepare consolidated financial statements. Apply IFRS 3 to recognize goodwill on gain from bargain purchase. For example, sometimes you may have purchase a business entity for a good price. Okay, so if you paid for the amount more than you needed for, so how do I now recognize the goodwill that may arise? What is goodwill? Yeah, goodwill is an intangible asset. How do I treat the goodwill? How do I recognize the goodwill? How do I value the goodwill? And how do I also amortize the goodwill amount that is shown? Okay, so all of this will be covered under this standard itself. Okay, so you perform consolidated adjustments and eliminate intergroup transactions. So what transactions are eliminated when I do consolidation, for example? So in essence, this is what this module 10 will cover. Okay, so I have actually done. So if you have any specific questions with respect to any of the modules, you can ask me, or if you don't understand, but like as Tauhid mentioned, these slides will be shared with you. This video will also be shared with you so that you can run over it and understand exactly what will be covered. So in essence, basically what I'm saying is we will look at all the standards that will be applied for the preparation of financial statements, the core financial statements, which will include the balance sheet, the income statement, the statement of cash flow, and the statement of changes in equity. So there are various standards that the International Financial Reporting standards prescribe, okay, and they are covered by each individual module. And these are some of the common standards that are applicable to all business entities. Yeah, so invariably you will have to apply some of these standards with respect to the business that you are engaged in. Okay, so I will stop here, Tauhid. If there are any questions, you can ask me. I'm more than willing to explain.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your explanation of each of the modules. We can take some questions from the participants. Please raise your hands and then ask your question. Yes, Mr. Dell, I don't know, your name is D-E-L-L, so I'm going to call you Dell. Do you have anything to say? Any questions? If you have any questions for Mr. Param regarding the module, you can ask, or you can ask me if you have any questions related to the administrative part of the course.
Hi, I have a couple of questions, if it is okay
Yes, please go ahead, sir.
Okay. Those are very brief. I understand that one. But, you know, in the companies that we're working, we have seen that in the most of the companies, they're asking for a couple of theory. For example, they're asking for separate prepaid accrual and then departmental P&L and project P&L, balance sheet reconciliation. Those becomes the very much popular in the hotel industry. I'm from hotel industry, and all the 5-star hotels and everywhere wherever I worked, I have seen that those things they are asking for a lot. So are those things will be covered up?
I think Mr. Param is the best one to answer this. Sir, could you please answer to this one?
Oh, okay. When it comes to talking about standards, yeah, basically we are talking about standards that are applied to companies that are doing in a business, yeah, which is engaged in profit. Okay, so these are requirements that you need to fulfill when you are, let's say, a public listed company. Okay, so there are a lot of reports that are produced internally for their own internal management. Okay, and of course, those reports can adhere to the standard. But what I need to emphasize is these standards are standards that are applied for the preparation of financial statements, okay, for a company that is reporting its financial transactions. Okay, so it refers, and these standards basically apply to public listed companies or private limited companies. Okay, because when you become a public listed company, there are requirements that you need to fulfill, and one of those requirements is you need to adhere to this international financial reporting standard. Okay, so that's slightly different from internal reports that are produced within the company, because there are internal departmental P&Ls that are produced, that is to internally manage your business itself. Okay, so which you can of course prepare based on what your department does, for example, in the hotel industry itself, and you of course apply those standards and make sure that it makes sense. Yeah. So that's how I would address that question. Yeah, basically.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Faisal, was your query answered by
Yes,
Mr. Param?
yeah, what I understood that one, like this is the actual the standard which is followed. But yes, it can be helped in order to make like balance sheet reconciliation or even project P and all these things. Okay, so it can be cover up. This is what I understood.
Probably you'll get the support for the from the internal and use it for the external as well, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Yeah. So the next question, please. Anyone? Any questions related to the modules or the administrative part of the course? If you have issues with your microphone, you can at least type your questions. Yes, my lord, Karkula, please go ahead with your question. Write your questions in the text box. If, in the meantime, do we have any other questions? You can, if you want, you can ask. Okay. Yes, so my background is INGO. Will there be a material for NGO financial reporting? So anything related to NGO reporting, INGO reporting?
No, like I told you, let me clarify this again. Yeah, these standards are applicable to public listed companies or private limited companies that do business for a profit. Okay, these standards do not apply to NGOs or non-profit organizations. Okay, there are no requirements for NGOs or non-profit organizations, NPOs, to apply these standards. Yeah. Okay, so these are for public listed companies or companies which are private limited companies which need to disclose their financial information.
Okay. Can self-paced student join the Saturday class? You are in that version, so you need to talk to the administration if that is possible or not, Mr. William. As you have already enrolled in the self-paced version, so I just talked to the administration if that is possible. Thank you. Or the person who have assisted you to enroll in this program. Yeah. So I hope that answers the question. Any other questions?
If you don't mind, I have one
Yes,
last
please.
question.
Sure.
I have a last question. I understand what sir said. This is the public limited company at the government company institute. They're following this standard, but where the private companies, for example, trading companies or hospitality, because I have seen it like in most of the cases in annual audit when KPMG or Deloitte they are doing the audit, they are asking so many standard report from us, like mostly 15 IFRS 15, 16, like so many reports they're asking or they're making. So what kind of help we are getting this one? For example, we are studying a different governing body, we're studying a different unit, and we're working on a different unit. So what kind of help we are going to get?
Okay. Well, since you mentioned KPMG, I used to work for KPMG. So
Yes.
if your business that you are involved in is audited by KPMG, that means your there's a requirement that your business activities need to be audited by an external auditor. Okay.
Yes.
And there's an external auditor present. Definitely, the external auditor will make sure that one of the things that the audit report will say is we have reviewed the financial statement of company ABC, and we have discovered that the financial transactions are prepared in accordance with the International Financial Reporting Standards. Okay, so if the standards apply, okay, so if you like I said, you can't show your fixed assets the way any way that you want to show it. Okay, there's a standard way of showing fixed assets. Fixed assets are shown as historical cost less accumulated depreciation. So if you show it in any other manner, okay, then you got to disclose it. Okay, so so if you change an accounting policy, you're using one type of accounting policy this year, but you change the accounting policy for the next year, you need to show why did you make the change, and the impact of the change need to be disclosed. So these are the requirements of the standard. So naturally, audit firms like KPMG or PwC will require you to ensure that you adhere to the standard. So the help that you get is when they ask you for your information, you need the fact that you understand the standard better. It is easier for you to provide the information. Okay, so an appreciation of the standard allows you to be able to communicate with your auditors more effectively, if you ask me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
Great. Any other questions?
If there are none, Tawhid, can we end the session?
Yeah, sorry. There are some queries coming in from Mr. My Lord, like
Okay.
saying that I wasn't communicated if it was for only for profit organization and not for non-profit organization. I'm sorry. That's why we are having this orientation, so that we are aware that what we are going into or we are stepping into. So yeah, thank you. So our next session, that means we will start our classes on the 13th of September. So
Okay.
if you haven't enrolled in this program as of yet, you can enroll. Today we've already cleared out what we are expecting from this course and the competencies that would be covered, of course. And if you have no other questions, then we can conclude the orientation over here. Yes, Miss. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I
Yeah.
don't get it. We are starting on the 13th September.
Yeah.
This is just the orientation. So the
Yeah.
class will
Yes,
September.
yes. This is actually an introductory part where it's going to explain how we are going to conduct the entire session. The main class will be on the 13th. That would be the first session. Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay. Now I get
Okay.
it.
So we're going to go module wise in every session.
Oh, okay. So
Great.
I have a question for the speaker.
Yes, I missed for Mr. Param. Yes. Go ahead. You unmute yourself and then ask a question.
So I work at the bank. I work at the central bank. I'm also in the banking supervision department. So for module 9, financial instrument, IFRS 9, we do that a lot, especially looking at credit and other areas. How deep are we? Will you be going when it comes to module 9?
Well, what
What are
like
the
we do it. like we do in all the modules, yeah, we will explore what does the module, the standard prescribe, and how do you handle financial instrument. Okay, that means whatever the requirements that are, every standard has a specific requirement. Okay, like if you look at IS1, there's a specific requirement of how financial statements are to be prepared. So in module 9, when you look at financial instruments, we will explore IFRS 9. Okay, we will look at, basically we will look at what does the module prescribe, how do we, what is described as financial instrument, how do we account for financial instruments, how do we recognize amortization of financial instruments, how do we do disclosure of information of financial instrument, what type of information needs to be disclosed in the financial statement, where in the financial statement are the financial instruments disclosed. Okay, all of that will be covered. So everything that the standard prescribes for treating financial instruments as far as IFRS 9 is concerned will be covered.
Okay, thank you very much.
Most welcome.
Great. Any questions? So I think we have done a very clear explanation. Yes, please. Yes, yeah. Please go ahead.
So the materials, will they be forwarded to our mails or
Okay, so yeah, the materials that you'll be getting, we will, after the session is complete, we will share that material on the learning management system, which is the portal. You'll have the ID and password. You can log into that and you'll find all the materials over there. So as we proceed with the programs, the materials will be updated accordingly. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, that's fine.
Great. Thank you. Any more questions? If there is none, then we will conclude the session and we will look forward to meet you on the 13th of September, where we'll have the first session of this program. Mr. Param will be there, of course. And yeah, if you are interested, then please connect with your representative who assisted you with the information and the link of today's orientation. They will guide you and help you to enroll in this program. So with this note, I would like to conclude and thank you, Mr. Param, for giving your time and explaining so well about the modules. I hope it's going to be a very fruitful session. Whoever has or wants to earn a knowledge from IAS and IFRS. Yes, there's a quick question. Please go ahead. Okay, so in case if you want to withdraw, you can connect with the representative who have assisted you with the program. And that's absolutely all right. You can connect with the representative who has helped you enrolled in this program, and then we are going to do the necessary things for the withdrawal part. I hope that answers the question. Thank you. Thank you. Great.
All right. Thank you and good night, everybody.
Yeah, good night, sir. Thank you very much. Have a blessed evening, everyone. Hope to see you in the session on the 8:13.